The diner was nearly empty, caught in that strange pause between lunch and dinner when time seemed to slow down out of habit. Sunlight slanted through the wide front windows in tired yellow strips, catching dust in the air and settling on the scratched linoleum floor. A ceiling fan clicked softly as it turned, its blades wobbling just enough to make a faint, uneven rhythm. Somewhere in the back, oil hissed on a hot grill, and the smell of frying onions mixed with burnt coffee and old wood. It was the kind of place people came to when they didn't want to be seen or when they had nowhere else to go. Near the window, at a small table meant for two but occupied by only one, a young woman sat with her shoulders curved inward as if she were trying to make herself smaller. Her coat was thin for the season, the cuffs frayed where her hands kept tugging at them. In front of her sat a chipped mug filled with tea that had long gone cold. She hadn't touched it in several minutes. Instead, her eyes moved slowly across the menu, lingering on items she already knew she wouldn't order. Pancakes. Soup of the day. A simple sandwich that cost just enough to be out of reach. Her fingers slipped into her pocket and came back out with a small handful of crumpled bills and coins. She smoothed them out on the table with careful precision, as if arranging them neatly might somehow make them multiply. She counted once, then again, lips moving silently. The total never changed. Her jaw tightened. She gathered the money back into her hand, hesitated, then tucked it away again, the motion heavy with resignation. The menu closed with a soft final sound. 2 booths away, a man sat alone with an empty plate in front of him. He had finished eating a few minutes earlier, but hadn't asked for the check yet. He wasn't in a hurry. His jacket was old but clean, the kind of thing that had been repaired more than once. His hands rested on the edge of the table, rough and steady, fingers marked with small scars that spoke of years of work rather than carelessness. He stared ahead, unfocused, until a small movement near the window caught his attention. He didn't mean to watch her. At first, it was just a glance, the kind you give without thinking. But something about the way she counted her money pulled at him. It wasn't dramatic. There was no scene, no raised voices, no tears. Just a quiet defeat that felt heavier than any loud despair. He recognized it instantly, the way you recognize a place you've been before, even if you never wanted to return. His coffee sat untouched, steam long gone. For a moment, he saw not the woman, but a memory layered over her. Himself, years ago, sitting in a place much like this, pretending to study a menu while calculating how long he could stretch the little he had. He remembered the shame that crept in uninvited, the way your stomach could ache with hunger while your pride insisted you didn't deserve help. He remembered wishing, just once, that someone would notice without asking questions. The waitress passed by the woman's table, pausing briefly. "You ready to order?" "Han," she asked gently, already sensing the answer. The woman forced a small smile and shook her head. "I just need another minute," she said. Her voice was soft, but it carried the weight of apology, as if she were sorry for existing in that space without spending money. The man looked away, jaw tightening. He reached into his pocket and felt the folded bills there, money he had counted carefully himself before coming in. It wasn't extra. It was what he had set aside for groceries later that night, maybe a small treat if there was enough left. He did the math automatically. He could make it work. He always did. Still, he hesitated. Not because he didn't want to help, but because he knew the risk. Kindness, when done the wrong way, could wound. He didn't want to embarrass her. He didn't want to make her feel watched or pitied. He just wanted to make the moment lighter and then disappear from it entirely. He stood, the vinyl seat sighing softly beneath him. As he walked toward the counter, he passed the woman's table. She didn't look up. Her eyes were fixed on a crack in the window as if the outside world were calling to her, reminding her that she didn't quite belong inside this warm, food-scented room. He slowed for half a second, then kept going. Behind the counter, the cashier was flipping through receipts, her pen tucked behind her ear. She looked up, surprised to see him standing there without asking for the check first. "Everything okay?" she asked. He nodded once. "Yeah," he said quietly. He leaned in slightly, lowering his voice as if sharing a secret. "I'd like to pay for that woman's meal," he added, nodding subtly toward the window. "Whatever she orders. And don't tell her who it's from." The cashier blinked, then glanced past him to the woman. Understanding dawned slowly on her face. "Are you sure?" she asked, not out of doubt, but respect. He gave a small, almost imperceptible smile. "I'm sure." She rang it up quickly, careful not to draw attention. He paid without looking at the total, sliding the bills across the counter with steady hands. Then he added a tip, more than he usually would, and shook his head gently when the cashier opened her mouth to say something. "Please," he said. "Just let it be." The bell above the door jingled as he pushed it open. A rush of cooler air swept in, carrying the sound of passing cars and distant voices. For just a moment he paused on the threshold. He could still see her from here, sitting alone, unaware that anything had changed. A part of him wondered what her face would look like when she found out. Another part knew that seeing it might ruin the purity of the act. So he stepped outside. The door swung shut behind him, the bell ringing once more before settling into silence. The diner returned to its gentle hum,
unchanged on the surface. Inside, the woman finally raised her hand slightly, signaling to the waitress. "I think I'll just get the soup," she said, her voice tentative, as if she were bracing herself for the cost. A few minutes later, the waitress returned, not with a bowl of soup, but with a full plate and a fresh cup of hot tea. She set them down carefully, her movements deliberate. "This is for you," she said. The woman stared at the food, confused. I didn't order all this." The waitress smiled, eyes shining a little. "It's been taken care of," she said gently. "Your meal's already paid for." The woman looked around the diner, her gaze sweeping from table to table, searching for a clue, a face, a reason. Her eyes paused on the empty booth where the man had been sitting just moments before. The seat was vacant, the table wiped clean, as if no one had ever been there at all. Her heart began to race as understanding slowly crept in. "Who?" she asked, barely above a whisper. The waitress glanced toward the door. "He didn't want you to know," she said. "He just left." The woman's breath caught in her chest. She turned back toward the window, toward the street beyond it, but all she saw were strangers passing by, unaware that something small and extraordinary had just happened. The man was already gone, swallowed by the world outside, leaving behind nothing but a warm meal and a moment that would linger far longer than either of them could imagine.